As I've listened to the stories of thousands of women of all ages, in all kinds of stages, through the years, I've kept their stories locked in the vault of my heart. I feel as if they've been walking around with me all through these years. They've bothered me, they've prodded me, and sometimes kept me up at night. Ultimately, they've increased my passion to reframe and reimagine the powerful positions of mother and matriarch within the family system. I'm a problem solver, so I set out to find a way to perhaps change the trajectory of this silent and sad scenario about a dynamic yet untapped source of potential and purpose sitting in our homes and churches. It is time to come to the table, Heartlifters, and unleash the power of maternal presence into the world. Welcome to Mothering for the Ages, our 2025 theme here on today's Heartlift. I'm Janelle. I am your guide here on this heartlifting journey. I invite you to grab a pen, a journal, and a cup of something really delicious. May today's conversation give you clarity, courage, and a revived sense of camaraderie. You see, you're not on this journey alone. We are unified as Heartlifters and committed to bringing change into the world, one heart at a time. Heartlifters, I want you to imagine alongside of me and Rachel G. Jordan, author of If the Ocean Has Soul, a marine biologist's pursuit of truth through deep waters of faith and science. In this stunning book, Rachel recounts fascinating aquatic phenomena alongside the sometimes humorous, sometimes tragic stories of animals she has known. We are going to lose ourselves in the shadows of an underwater labyrinth. We're going to hear spiritual wisdom from a great-grandmother coral the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And we're going to fall in love with Porky, the pudgy porcupine fish greeting visitors at the Windjammer shipwreck. I'm so excited to bring this conversation to our table today. I am fresh off of a beautiful vacation at the Outer Banks of North Carolina. This year we were in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and we discovered some interesting sea creatures, one particularly called the upside-down jellyfish, who we got to spend quite a bit of time with as my son-in-law Jose scooped a couple up and we put them in a bucket, and little Elena Rose and Ava Grace and I, we got to touch them and learn all about them as I did a deep dive novice research. And we also found out about sea lice, S-C-A-L-I-C-E. Now, my husband and I have been going to the Outer Banks for over 4 decades, and I have never heard of sea lice. So it is with great curiosity that I bring this conversation with marine biologist Rachel Jordan to us today, and I want to dedicate this podcast episode to my other son-in-law, Aaron, because Aaron just loves the ocean, he loves animals, and we have had some fun introducing octopuses, one of his favorite creatures, to little baby June. So Aaron, this episode is for you. Okay, Heartlifters, are you ready to learn and explore the depths of the ocean and find some beautiful correlation between science and faith? Please welcome Rachel to the show. Heartlifters, I could talk to Rachel Jordan for hours. I'm going to let you in on this conversation. Welcome, Rachel. I had to hit record, even though I really just wanted to keep you all to myself. But I'm going to share.
Oh, you were so sweet.
I'm going to share. Welcome.
Thank you. It's such a treat to be here with you today.
I'm just so happy to have you here. This book, oh my gosh, for those of you on YouTube or Instagram, I mean, I'm obsessed with this cover.
Me too.
The
The
ocean
cover designer and illustrator, Julie Chen and Jago Silbert, they did such a phenomenal job. I'm
and
so
all through the
grateful.
book, there are just like, I just love it. A marine biologist's pursuit of truth through deep waters of faith and science. Did you write that or was that a team effort? Whew.
The main title, If the Ocean Has a Soul, that is what I came up with
Love
before
it.
we went to submit the manuscript. The subtitle is significantly different than what I began with, and it's so much
Okay.
stronger for
Ooh.
it. So that was primarily my publisher's doing, was that bit, especially the pursuit of truth.
Oh,
My
yes.
was like, we need that phrase in there because it appears
Yes.
in the book so many times. That really is the
Oh,
core of what the book is doing, is
okay.
pursuing truth.
And deep waters of faith and science. I mean, both are just, mwah, they're just so perfect because the waters between faith and science seemingly, I said the word between, and I honestly swim in the ocean of faith and science now, and especially neuroscience. So I am swimming in a whole new ocean, as we talked a little bit about before we hit record, when you were encouraging
So
me to just be the transformed human being that I am. Because when my children were little, the culture that we were swimming in was really taboo about speaking about evolution or Darwin, any other options besides creationism. And so it's one of the reasons I really did want you here, as I shared with you, that I now have these 5 little grandbabies, 3 and under, who are looking to me. And I am obsessed and am so in love and swimming in so much joy. But I want to be an intelligently informed nonna and grandma. I want to be able to have
beautiful.
intelligent, faithful, intelligent conversations with them about anything so that, I don't just avoid it from fear. And so that's why you're so important to us. The other reason I wanted you here is because I'm obsessed with the ocean. I live so near, I live near the beautiful Atlantic Ocean and the Outer Banks of North Carolina and
Oh, beautiful.
Hatteras and just, oh, so much do I love the ocean. So, how did this book come to be? How did it come to be? I'm so curious.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me, honestly. I didn't at first set out to write a book. I
Wow.
had had a bit of a massive life pivot. I'd spent the majority of my adulthood chasing after coral reefs as a marine biologist, and God had really blessed that pursuit. And after working for the National Park Service for several years and having done a lot of other really fun, exciting, challenging
So
jobs leading
exciting.
up
I'm
to
like, I
that,
love
uh,
your life.
oh, thank you. God's been very, very good to me.
Oh,
Very,
so
very sweet
precious.
with all the surprises along the way. But after doing that for a number of years, he sort of surprised me and directed me inland. I ended up marrying a man from the Midwest, and I am currently in a landlocked state.
It's so crazy.
And at first, I didn't really know what to do with all the time I had because there wasn't exactly a marine biology job available in the Midwest. And so
Right.
I had also established, and this was thanks to my husband's generosity, I had reached a point
Mm.
of near burnout with my job prior
Mm.
to us getting married. And so when
Wow.
we settled here, he suggested that I take about 6 months off and settle into life. I had
What a
uprooted, I'd moved to a
dear
different
man.
state. I
Mm.
had quit my job, I'd left all my friends. I needed some new friends in this community. It was a massive transition, and we'd gotten married. So there was
Wow.
so much to adjust to.
Yeah.
And he very generously, wisely said, just take some time and get to know people, figure out your life here, get used to me, and we'll just go from there. And a
Oh,
couple months
lovely.
into that 6 month period of time, I decided that I wanted to write a roughly 20-page devotional for my friends about marine biology stories and
Hmm.
what God had taught me through those stories. And so I sat down one day at my computer and I was planning about a page for each story. There were going to be 20 stories, 20 pages total. I wrote the first story and it was somewhere between 6 to 8 pages long, and I couldn't shorten it. It would have ruined the story. And I sort of took a deep breath and was like, all right, I'll write the next one. And so after
259
doing
pages
this,
later.
yes, 304 pages, I believe, to be exact.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after about the third or fourth story, I recognized, oh, this is not a 20-page devotional. This will be probably a book. And it's amazing because God has just blessed it. I didn't
Crazy.
have this grand plan for it, but as the book sort of unfolded and I just sort of said yes to the next step and came
Yeah.
to a point where I was thinking about self-publishing or pursuing traditional publishing and sort
Hmm.
of debating between the options. And I figured, prayerfully did some research and figured I might as well try traditional publishing
Hmm.
because maybe God has something planned that
I
I don't
love
know
little
about, and I'll just
inklings.
give it a go.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, the self-publishing will still be there for me. And then he has just blessed every single step. So,
It was his
I
intentional plan for you.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, it very much feels that way. It's been
Hmm.
wild because in my marine science career, I feel as if every single opportunity I tried for, I had to sort of break down these doors. Like it was
Mm.
so hard to get to the next step constantly. Just my whole career, it
Wow.
was challenge after challenge after challenge
Hmm.
and rejection after rejection, and then
Wow.
still pursuing things
Hmm.
despite the rejections and finally
Yeah.
having success for a moment and then another rejection. And that
Yeah.
was the
Is it
story. And then
competitive, I'm
with this
guessing? Is it a competitive market?
extremely
Yeah.
competitive. It's really
Hmm.
oversaturated. There's a lot of extremely qualified, passionate marine biologists, and
Okay.
unfortunately, there's not very many jobs that pay enough that can actually support your life.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Word of
it's
wisdom.
oversaturated in that sense. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very, very tricky. And I come from a place of privilege that I was able to pursue things despite
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
difficulty.
Hmm.
That and I worked really hard and I got
Yeah.
a bit lucky. God bless that
Yeah.
path. But comparatively with book
Yeah.
things,
I love this.
not that it's been easy, but it's
Hmm.
felt as if I knock on a door and it's just sort of swung open for
That
me.
is such
And
a
that
lovely feeling.
it's so lovely. It's so
Yes.
lovely. After
Let's
such
just
a
sit in
long
that for a
time of
minute.
yes,
Let's
yes,
just swim
so
in
so
that for a
lovely.
minute like a sea turtle. Yes. I love sea turtles. Okay.
They're so, so cute. Oh
So
my
cute. I
goodness.
want to see them hatch. I'm dying
Yeah,
to.
and even the giant, like clunky ones, like
Oh,
the loggerhead sea
huge.
turtles, that their faces are very squared.
They are.
They're just these big clunkers, and some of them are so ancient that they have like algae growing on their
Oh,
shells. They just look sage, but they're
Sage. Wish
so
you could
cute,
talk.
even
Oh,
while
yeah.
looking wise. They're incredible creatures. I love
So
sea turtles.
how has this transition been? I'm so curious. Did you like to write as a child? Does writing come easy? And where did you just happen to have an idea to write a 20-page devotional for your friends? Did they ask you? Was it invitational, or did you just have like a little inner, I just think I want to sit down and put on paper my experiences, my sage
Yeah,
wisdom on all these beautiful creatures and corals and things that I have been able to witness?
it's a great question. I was always very naturally gifted in writing and
Okay.
reading, literature, English. Those were my subjects in school.
Okay.
And I actually really, really struggled with science. This is a
Wow.
topic that I discuss in one of the chapters in my book. I tell a
Okay.
bit about my story. And it's so ironic because God did initially with marine biology call me to do the skills to develop skills that were my weaknesses. And I very
Um,
much was sort of forced to leave behind, literature, writing,
mhm.
languages, the things that I was naturally very good at
Hmm.
that I did enjoy, but I
Mhm.
wasn't passionate about.
Mhm.
I was passionate about science, which is the thing I was bad at.
So fascinating,
And
though. It's,
yeah,
yeah, in
it's
his weakness, he made you strong. In your weakness, he made
exactly,
you strong. Yeah. Or just how
exactly.
God works sometimes. I've never, ever entered a job that I felt qualified for. It's
Mhm.
always like, and then when I feel really, really good at it and I'm like rocking it, he's like, over here.
Yeah,
It's
a
just
little
been an interesting,
humility.
yeah, humility, dependence, interdependence. It's been an
Yes.
interesting, and I just invite heartlifters as we're talking, to consider their journey and hear what Rachel is saying, that, sometimes it is an area that perhaps we don't have a proclivity for, right? Or an acumen, we would say. You might be good at it, but not the best at it. And I just think
Exactly.
that's why I love story. There's so much strength in your story, and it invites us to like open our hands again, right? And go, I don't know. Like, you're going to take me, a marine biologist, and landlock me? This is very curious. It's
Mhm.
just your curiosity is showing, which to me is what we all need to embrace in order to really move into what God has for us. So thank you for
There's this
image.
incredible quote
Read it.
by A.W. Tozer, which has been a source of encouragement for me when I have felt like God is calling me to do something that feels a little bit insane, like to keep pursuing something despite a rejection, to
Yeah.
keep studying science in school when I'm really struggling with it, or to keep applying for jobs when I'm not getting any
That's
wins
tough.
there.
Yeah.
And then when I have the wins, to leave it all behind and come inland as a marine
That's
biologist.
crazy.
There's this quote that I've come back to that I just feel really just sums it all up.
Okay.
He writes, "How completely satisfying to turn from our limitations to a God who has none." And I feel like that's just so beautiful because God is unlimited. He's limitless. There
Yes.
is nothing that he cannot do for me, for you. And when I have observed in my own life that when I am struggling with anxiety about my future, or
Mhm.
fear of I don't know what's coming next, or God, you're asking me to do this thing and it makes no sense.
Oh,
No sense. It seems totally irrational. What are you doing? In those moments, it's as you were alluding to, it's forced me to rely on him in a
yeah.
completely different capacity than I think I would have a tendency to if I could rely on myself. It's
Hmm.
forced me to depend on him in a completely different way, which has caused me to grow in intimacy with him. I know him
Oh,
better because I've seen him prove himself trustworthy so many times when it was nonsensical, when it was beyond my own reach, when it
yeah.
was outside of my ability. And that is just the part of this story that he's written in my own life that I feel so excited to share it with people because
Oh,
well, yes, I have worked extremely hard.
yes.
God did this for me. This was
It's very
not
clear.
me working
Hmm.
it all out for my own good. This is
Hmm.
his doing. And I want to make sure that people know that because
Yes.
he's just been so kind. And the encouragement that he can create streams in the wasteland. He can create
Yes.
life where there previously was none.
Uh-huh.
I'm in a landlocked state right now, inland, as a marine biologist, and God has created a way for me to regularly, daily, have conversations with people, to form connections and relationships with people like you, to dig into marine biology. I am
Fun.
functionally getting to do active science communication as a marine
Very
biologist while
important.
praising God
Yes.
from an inland
An
state, which
inland
is
state.
phenomenal. God's not limited. It's marvelous.
It's really, really awe-inspiring, encouraging in this season of my own life. I'm in such a huge transition. So it just makes me, it reinvigorates my faith to ask, to trust, to seek, right? And say, what's next? What's next? And so I just love this because it's an expansion of your capacity, right? An enlargement of your capacity to be able
Yeah.
now to share almost what a decade of marine biologist work. You're 30,
Hmm.
so a decade
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
Now putting it down on paper. Is this your first book? I forgot to ask you.
Yes, this is
Yeah,
my
so
debut
here you
book.
are, your first book with Tyndall Refresh. Come on.
What an honor.
It just doesn't happen this way. So it is so awe-inspiring. What I really want to know from your marine biologist side is what does the ocean, because I love the ocean, what does the
Oh, me
ocean
too.
specifically reveal about God? I have my own ideas, but I really want to know what you have to say so I can teach my
Oh,
grandchildren.
yeah, that is a fantastic question. The book. I like to
Read the
defer back to
book.
the book. Do read the
Read the
book
book.
because I go a lot more in depth,
Yes,
pun
of
intended,
course.
in the book about all the
Yes.
different things that the ocean can reveal about God's character. I feel like one of the more obvious ones that just about anybody can think of if they've seen the ocean and they know God is
Mhm.
his creativity, even his
Yes.
sense of humor and his delight in the bizarre
Mystery.
and the
Oh,
mundane and the extravagant and
keep
just the
going.
wild things he's made. There's
Yes.
such a highlight of creativity. And within, as a scientist, within the talking about this niche of God's creative character,
Mm.
that creativity begets biodiversity. So, biodiversity in science is the measure of the number of different living things within an environment.
Okay.
So, the more of different kinds of things you have within a space, the more biodiverse that place is.
It's
And
good.
so, biodiversity, one of my favorite things about it, it strengthens ecosystems.
Oh, do
So,
tell. Do tell. This
communities
is
in the
good.
ocean, and this goes for on land too, but in the ocean, we see that ecosystems that have greater diversity are better able to withstand disturbances like hurricanes or anthropogenic impacts
Mm.
or just changes in their environment, like increasing ocean temperatures.
Wow.
They're better able to withstand those changes and to recover from them when they're more biodiverse. And I feel
Wow.
like
That.
that one, we're talking about this one aspect of God's character revealed in
Right.
creation, creativity, that has massive implications for biodiversity. We recognize that God
Wow.
created this principle of biodiversity that strengthens ecosystems, that communities are stronger when they have differences. And then we can apply that principle of biodiversity to our own human communities,
Mm-hmm.
to churches, to our friend
Uh-huh.
groups, to our
Mm-hmm.
families. We have the ability to be strengthened
Mm.
when we think and act and view things differently from one another. There can be unity. There can be
Mm.
a neighborhood building effect of an ecological community. There can be relationships and network and all sorts of
Ah.
interpersonal intersection there. And it can strengthen
Mm.
our our whole being and
Mm-hmm.
our ability to praise God when we have that diversity. So one single thing, creativity, and it has all sorts of implications for the scientific
Yeah.
viewpoint of our ecosystems, but then that has implications for our theological perspective, how we interact with each other. And that is the part that's so exciting to me is like you can look at creation and identify, ask yourself and prayerfully ask God, okay, what is this teaching me about God's character? And
Mm-hmm.
then what does that teach me about the
Yes.
world? And what does it teach me about humans? in the
Hmm.
world? And what does it teach me about myself in the
Hmm.
relationships with other people? And what does it teach me about myself in relation to God? And
Yes.
those layers are where the real work of
Oof.
understanding God's character and creation, like the rubber really meets the road in the
It
most
really
beautiful
does.
way. There's
Yes.
so much revelation there. And
There's so much. I am
so,
trying so hard to not interrupt you and trying to
oh no,
not
you're
shout
good.
amen and hallelujah and glory be to God and all of the things because I mean, my mind is just exploding. Like, I love the words under the words. I love to take a word all the way down and all the words to the side and all of this that you're saying to us about biodiversity and how if a marine community, because we're specifically talking about that, doesn't have that, it's less prone or more prone to danger, more
Hmm.
prone to
Yeah.
extinction, probably more prone to not having a meaningful marine life. I'm going to put it in that. Like
Yeah. Well,
in
and
our,
notably, you mentioned extinctions.
yeah,
Extinctions limit biodiversity. Biodiversity is the measure of the number
yeah,
of different kinds of things within a
right,
space. So when there's an extinction, there's one less kind. There's one
right.
less species to contribute to that ecosystem. So that's partly why extinctions are a big deal. This is just one
That's
reason
good.
why. It's because their contribution to the environment no longer exists. There's even things called functional extinctions, where
Wow.
a living thing might still exist. There might be a couple of them left,
Yeah.
but the role that they played in their ecosystem, the special thing that they contributed, it's so weakened that its function is extinct. It no longer
Hmm.
serves its role. So, in
Ooh,
that
that will
sense,
really preach.
yeah. Yeah, so in that
So
sense, we
keep
really do
going.
need the biodiversity. Yeah. No, you go, you hop back in. That's
Oh,
all I had to say on that.
so
It just, you mentioned
ugh,
extinction, and I was like, there's
I'm so
something cool
happy
there.
that I did because when the Americas, this new show that just swept our nation, probably the world, because it will sweep the world. It'll be put on a streaming station, I'm sure, or if it isn't already. But I mean, my husband and I were just glued. I couldn't wait until Sunday evenings. It's like when I was a child and I couldn't wait to watch
Oh.
Batman, because TV was only a few things back then. But, we have all these channels with like useless information. And so the Americas, it was just, I'm not sure, how a marine biologist would have measured it or what you might think of it. But I don't remember what creature it was, but I remember going, why does he matter, he or she? Like, why? Why? One of them was these crabs, these little crabs that just are like, they multiply, 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 multiply.
Oh,
And then
wow.
they go, oh, I can't remember what country. I'll try to fill that in. But then they get to the ocean if they get there. And they have
Hmm.
millions of like little babies and then they die. And so I just remember saying many, many times watching the program because they went to some really extreme places and caught never seen type like a little ant. I remember going, why does that ant like it looks like oh, they bite, they're fiery. And I felt like,
Hmm.
why did we need that? Why was that even on the ark? Like, but you're telling us, I mean, it's really speaking to First Corinthians 10, is it? Or 13, whichever one says we're the body. And we need a nose and an eye and an ear and a finger and
Yeah.
a baby toe. And,
Hmm.
it's speaking so largely and loudly to the impact of just everything on everything else. Is that a fair
Yeah.
statement?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a massive interconnectedness between
That's
us
the
and every
word.
aspect of creation. And you mentioned too, you asked the question, what what is this contributing? Like, what is the
Yeah.
purpose of this
What,
particular
like,
creature?
I don't get it.
I've been there with you. The creature that I feel that way about the most would be mosquitoes.
Yes.
Mosquitoes just to me,
And
like,
flies. Yes.
yeah, me when this is just my opinion and I say
Talk to
shit, I'm
us about
like,
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes are just the worst.
They
I
are.
did my graduate school in Australia, and over there they call mosquitoes mozzies. And so in my head, they're always mozzies because that word sounds like the
Moses.
sound that they make to me,
Ooh,
mozzies.
Muzzy.
Zzz.
Bzzz.
Like they're just horrible little creatures. And for the longest time, I must be tasty. I would
I'm
get,
very tasty.
dozens of
You're
bites in a single
fair. You're fair
afternoon.
skinned
And
like me, right? I don't
I
know if
think my
that's
blood
it,
must
but
run a little sweet.
I'm
I don't
guessing.
know, but they
I am a
liked
magnet.
me, and I'd be so uncomfortable with all my itching that I would be praying like, God, why did you make these creatures?
Talk to us.
And it's funny to think about that now. Thankfully, I don't live in a place with as many mosquitoes
Lucky
as
you.
that,
I might
but
move there
um,
because there's no
but
water.
yes, unfortunately. Um, but the thing that I've realized since then with other creatures that I do feel applies to mosquitoes and these ants that you mentioned, the
Yeah,
fiery
fiery
ants
ants.
and these bizarre little crabs that breed like crazy and all sorts of other weird
Look like a
organisms that
horror
we learn
movie.
about.
It's like, oh,
The thing that they all contribute, even if their ecological function isn't clear
hmm
to us, or even if their contribution to our own lives is one of
hmm
annoyance and frustration or pain even,
yes.
the thing that they all contribute is praise to God. Every single living thing is praising God with its existence. They
Mm.
all have I believe, a unique capacity to praise God
Hmm.
in their own right.
Wow.
And even mosquitoes,
I was not
the
expecting you to say that.
intricacy of how they're made,
Yeah.
like if you look at the physics
Yeah.
involved
hmm
and how they, stick their little straw nose into you and suck blood
Yeah.
out and like just the way that they work, the way
hmm
these weird aspects of creation work, they all have a capacity to praise God.
Hmm.
And he designed them that way. He
Well, I
designed
am going to feel
everything
really
with the
bad when
capacity to praise him.
swatch a mosquito. Sorry, you're over there praising God, but you're annoying me a whole lot. So
I
I
will
see
say
that framework. I
I
get
do
it.
occasionally struggle with it. Something that helps, I find, is because there's such a thing as like your own safety concerns, and mosquitoes can carry diseases and all
They
sorts of
can.
things like that.
Yes.
But when you reach a point, and this is something that so little bit of a backstory. For my undergraduate degree, I did stress hormone research on aggregate sea anemones. And as part of this research, I had to
Wow.
extract the stress hormone from sea anemones, which the most effective way to do that at the time is to torture the sea anemones.
Oh,
And the best way to do that was to put them in this is gory, I'm sorry, but to put them in
oh,
a blender, and then extract the hormone from the anemone smoothie that you'd have afterwards. And this was what I did for a whole semester of undergrad was
wow.
this research, blending up sea anemones. I had a permit. I was working under an advisor. I was working with a fellow
Sure.
research
It's
student,
all
and
legal.
it was a really cool project. But
I bet.
I, as an animal lover, even though these are invertebrates and people tend to think them quite lowly creatures, I had a
Yeah.
really hard time mentally and emotionally with
I see.
sacrificing these sea
Yes.
anemones for this research project I was doing.
Wow.
And the lead up to our first day in the lab where we were blending these anemones,
Ooh.
I was really seeking God with some
Yeah.
kind of
It's
a resolution
ethical.
of like,
It's a bit
Lord,
ethical,
yeah,
isn't it?
Lord, like
Yeah.
what? Yeah, it felt there
Yeah.
was a wrongness to it,
hmm
that
And
I
I'm sure
felt.
many would say
And
there is. I have no doubt
yeah,
there could be
and
definitely
and some
arguments towards
people,
that. Yep.
yes, and other people would be like, "Girl, what are you even talking
Yeah, it's a
about? Like,
sea
just
anemone.
hit the
Yeah.
on button on the blender. It's an
That's right.
anemone. They're clones. They can multiply very easily. They're all the same genetic individual, like whole thing." Anyways, I was prayerfully seeking the Lord about this, and He prompted me to recognize that I could be thankful for the sacrifice of these sea
Hmm.
anemones, and I
Hmm.
could thank the anemones
hmm
for that sacrifice.
For teaching and training.
And
Right.
yeah, and this recognition that God has put me in a position to steward his creation and to
Yes.
help orchestrate the
Mm.
praises of that creation, to
Hmm.
lift up their voices and to join in with my own voice praising
Wow.
God. It's a
Hmm.
form of ministry. And so as I went to the lab that day, I started just thanking God for these amazing little creatures, for these sea
I'll
anemones that I
never
was
look at one the
going
same.
to be
Hmm.
killing,
Yeah.
but just praising him for them, for their existence, and marveling at their beauty.
Mm.
And it changed my perspective of that entire research project because I
Yeah.
had this deep gratitude in my heart
Oh,
for what had been lost in order for that knowledge to be gained. And it has
yes.
affected every interaction related to suffering and death that I've had with the marine environment ever since. It's been
Right.
incredibly sweet. Even now, occasionally I'll discover some animal here on the farm. A bird will hit the window and maybe break its neck
Yes.
and die, and I will have to take care
Yes.
of its poor little body. And the thing
Yeah.
that comforts me is
Mm.
my ability to thank God for that life
Hmm.
and recognize its beauty even in
Yeah.
death,
Hmm.
and that He has an ability to restore all things, and He
He
loves
does.
that creature even more than I ever could. And so, as we're talking about
Mm.
the the idea of these creatures and their different modes of praising God, even something as seemingly insignificant or frustrating as a mosquito,
Mhm.
it has a capacity to praise God, but there also might be times that
Yes.
it is called
Where they
for you
cause
to squish.
malaria or where they,
Yes,
yes, cause
exactly.
right.
And in that
Yeah.
case, if there's any kind of struggle in your mind, just praise God for that creature.
That's right.
That
That's
is
it.
that is a very good like default way to approach
Wow.
it.
I
And
have to
it
ask what the
has changed my
outcome,
perspective.
yeah, what was the outcome of understanding a sea anemone's stress hormones? What was
Yeah,
I'm just going to ask it for my own
they
curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really interesting. So we had extracted this hormone, and we then had live healthy sea anemones in these little Tupperware containers
Oh.
that we would squirt that
Oh.
extracted hormone onto, and then we were monitoring the behavior, the physical behavior of those sea anemones in response to that hormone. And
Oh.
this is where it gets wild.
Mm.
They had all different behavioral responses, but as you upped the dosage of this stress hormone, the responses were more dramatic. And on the
Wow.
highest dosage of the stress hormone, we had multiple anemones detaching themselves from
Oh.
the bottom of the Tupperware, which they can do. Normally they're sessile organisms. They latch down and they settle there, and they
Oh,
generally
don't go
stay. They don't like
anywhere.
to move around a lot, but
Okay.
they would let go with their little foot
Mm.
of the bottom, and they would roll their bodies as far
Oh, so
away
they
as
were
they could get.
stressed.
They were really stressed. And this is the wild part, it's
What?
communication. So what I was putting in the water, that stress hormone, it was a chemical signal from other sea anemones saying, I am freaking out. And I put that message in the water, and the anemone that was reacting is
Oh.
receiving the message of my fellow sea anemones are freaking out. Something is really wrong. I better
Oh.
get out of here.
Oh.
And that is so fascinating
Well,
to
that
me that
really, really
they,
speaks though, because of our brain,
yes.
like in humans, right? I need your brain and you need my brain. And so
Mhm.
that, who even knew a sea
And they
anemone
don't
had a
even,
stress hormone?
and they don't have brains. This is the
No.
wild part. They don't have brains. They're little invertebrates, and you don't think of them as having feelings per se. But I
Right.
strongly believe, based on my research and experience and the reading that I've done, that all living things on some level
Hmm.
have feeling. It's
Uh-huh.
just that their version of that feeling might be different than how we experience it.
I
And
think that's
there's some really
amazing.
cool research coming out relatively recently on plants and their ability to self-recognize mechanically and chemically that they are being cut down, or they are losing foliage,
Oh,
or they are in danger. Like they change their like
chemistry, the
their
cellular level.
chemistry.
Yep.
Yes, and how they invest things, and even some plants, like the mechanics of their bodies change depending on what they experience
Oh,
externally,
I
physically.
staked
So,
a dahlia last year and then found out it was fully grown and I staked it and realized it killed it. It well, you have to
oh
stake it
no.
while you're planting, or stay do a circular thing. But I was,
Oh,
hadn't done it
I did not
before.
know that.
Yeah, and so it
Well,
just
I am planting dahlias this year, so I will make sure to stake
stake
them in
while you're
advance.
planting, so that the
Okay.
roots then can grow around it. And don't use
Oh,
metal because, I mean, don't use wood because it causes little critters. And it's just fascinating. So I totally
wow.
verify that that has to be truth. I just think it's incredible that the sea anemones were sensing. The word would be sensing, right? Communicating
Yeah.
like we do.
Hmm.
You write this. We should regard one another leniently and favorably. Well, when I read that, I really almost started to cry. We should regard one another. The word leniently, like the positioning of that adverb, and favorably, kindly offering a hand. Just because we have different perspectives doesn't mean we can't help each other. In a time of strong divisiveness, how can we have more healthy disagreements? I was pretty shocked by this sentence, this question,
Hmm.
and would not have associated that with something a marine biologist would have written in a book called If the Ocean Had a Soul. So where did that question come in your time as a marine biologist, and why did you bring that to the table? Because I think it's incredibly important and a definite part of the conversation I wanted to have today.
Yeah. So when I was wrapping up my undergraduate degree, I had finished the sea anemone project and was getting ready to walk at graduation. I went to a party that was being thrown by some people at my church. I'd grown up in this church. I knew all these people very well. They knew me very well. And we were celebrating at this party. I think it was somebody's birthday. And I was asked what some of my key things that I'd learned were, I believe was the question. And I, on the tail end of this degree, feeling really passionate and feeling like I was in a safe space, mentioned
Yes.
climate change. And this was the trigger conversation that is the reason why I am relatively um, reticent to talk about this
Yeah.
topic
Hmm.
publicly now,
Yeah, I
because it
can
is
see that.
such a hot topic issue for so many people.
It
I
is.
didn't know that at the time. And
Mm,
that conversation really hurt me because
sure.
I
You're
was sharing
21,
something that I thought I was, yeah,
a
I
baby.
was like freshly 21, I think.
Yeah.
Um and I was attacked,
Ooh,
which is really sad that that happened, but
so sorry.
they were afraid. The people that I
Yes,
was
it's that
talking with were
fear.
really afraid.
Correct.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what to do with it at the time. I just felt really hurt.
Hmm.
But that was the beginning of starting to recognize, like, we as Christians, I think we can be so intent on trying to be understood that we
Yep.
forget to be understanding and we forget to love each other and what that actually looks like practically. And we can lose sight of the fact that unity can exist even when we think differently on
Hmm.
something.
Yes.
Science is not a salvation issue.
No. Okay. Say
Climate
more.
change is not a salvation issue. It is not a make or break in anything. Evolution, fossils, dinosaurs, um, all these topics that get people riled up, potentially
Hmm.
politics,
Ooh.
these in and of themselves, not salvation issues,
Hmm.
but they are evangelism issues, which is
Okay.
why we talk about them. They
Okay.
can be potential roadblocks for
Mm.
people in accessing the faith. And to go back for a moment, the reason why I say they're not salvation issues
Hmm.
is not to say that they don't matter. They do.
Hmm.
They absolutely matter.
Sure.
And I encourage everybody to know what you believe and why, and do
Yes.
some exploring,
Mm-hmm.
pin down what you think is true. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay if you change your mind later on as you get more information.
Mm-hmm.
Process what you can prayerfully with the Lord, but they're not salvation issues because Jesus is the way, truth, and the life, and no one
Yes.
comes to the Father except through him. And
Mm-hmm.
if we start to say something like,
Mm.
you cannot believe in evolution and be a Christian, or if we
Correct.
say something like, you must believe X, Y, and Z about climate change, or you must vote for a particular political party
Mm-hmm.
to be a Christian,
That's
if we
correct.
begin saying any of those things, we are effectively adding to the gospel. We are saying it's not just Jesus, it is
Yeah,
Jesus and this other thing.
that's good.
And that is
I
not
think that's really good.
biblical. It's not
Mm-hmm.
true. And that, unfortunately, is the thing that I have seen over and over again in my
Mm-hmm.
conversations with my non-Christian scientist friends. Many
Yeah.
of them have already been exposed to the gospel, but the gospel they were
Mm-hmm.
exposed to was
Mm-hmm.
Jesus plus some other thing. So they
Yeah.
rejected it.
Yeah.
And so it feels when I am talking with them as
Mm-hmm.
if they are they have been exposed to Christianity in a really painful way
Yes, a
where
defensive,
they
argumentative.
were
Yeah.
chewed up by it and spit out
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
I almost was.
Yeah. I'm so
And then
sorry.
there hasn't really been any resolution on that.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of the story that I tell about this party that I went to and this horrible conversation that I had is that it has
Yeah.
made me really sensitive to these things. And
Good.
it's it's something that has helped me to better love my fellow scientists and Christians who
Mm-hmm.
are asking these really hard, scary
We need to be
questions.
asking the questions. So I think we need to be,
Yeah.
I already said this. I want to be intellectually curious. I want to be spiritually curious. I want to have a qualified answer to those who have been put in my care. And I think to shut down, conversations that could be invitational is where we have gone wrong. I
Mm,
do. I think to not be curious, even intellectually, does not change my foundation of my relationship with Christ. It doesn't. I know whose I am. I know who I am now. I
mhm.
didn't know that as securely when my children were being homeschooled. There was just a shutdown. I mean, I was curious. I've always been curious. So I didn't do that. I'm like, okay, let's go to the library and get 55 books on dinosaurs and let's contact the creation. Let's just talk about it. I don't really know how to tell you about the Ice Age, but I would like to have qualified answers. And I am definitely someone who wants to have lots of different people around me. I love to be invitational and have invigorating conversation, pregnant conversations, you might say.
Yeah.
And so, all right, so now that you have walked that journey, go back to that for me, to that conversation.
Yes.
What would
Yes.
you say
Leniently
now
and
that might help
charitably.
us, have that
Yeah.
conversation if someone brings up something like climate change or evolution or just one of those topics?
Yeah. Well, to go back to the part
Hmm.
from the book that you quoted, choosing to regard each other leniently,
Hmm.
charitably, lending a helping hand. That concept, that is how I'm very blessed in this way. That's how my parents raised me. There
Oh,
wasn't condemnation for my questions.
I was going to ask you that.
And so
Yay.
that's partly why I was so caught off guard when
Ah.
I experienced different treatment from
Hmm.
other people who were in a sort of spiritual leadership in my life.
Yeah.
But yet I'm glad, like, as I said, I'm glad that that happened because it's changed my own approach to
Hmm.
hard conversations, to
Yeah.
these challenging topics with other people.
Hmm.
And I think just my note is that if you have experienced something like that,
Hmm.
where you have been hurt by a conversation or someone did not regard you leniently and charitably, God will meet you in that place,
He
and
will.
he will show you himself. He can comfort you and guide you, and he can offer you a way to forgiveness. He has offered you a way
He
to forgiveness
has.
through Jesus.
Yes.
And when we, it's hard because I wish I could say like, oh, it's easy.
Oh, it's
But
not easy. No, I don't think it's
I
easy to
have,
talk outside of your bubble. These are bubbles. They're very
yeah.
inclusive bubbles, you know. That's how I look back at my
Mhm.
life anyway. And I just think I was in a very inclusive bubble, although had such a heart for the world and really tried to give that to my children, you know, to ask questions. I'm far more like, let's just ask more invitational questions and not shut down things.
That's
So,
it right there.
right? It's just agree to
Yeah.
disagree and go, wow, I just, you know, I remember being trained for pageants, right? And hours and
Oh, wow.
hours of interview training. And one of the wisest things that I ever learned in that was if I was asked a question, I didn't know the answer, instead of looking like a deer in the headlights, to just go, what a great question. I tell you what, come back to me in a day and I will be able to give you an intelligent response. As for right now, I have no idea. And I don't want to pretend like I do.
It's a
Right?
beautiful answer and it's honest.
It's so
It's
honest.
honest.
I have no idea
Yeah.
about climate change. I have not read the books. I wouldn't even begin to tell you, but there is a lot of evidence going on. You know, my winters aren't as harsh. My summer, you know, it's like just kind of, you know, I don't know, but I don't, you know, and especially politically, that's just how I'm handling it. I'm like, you know, if you want to come to the table, I'm not an expert. I can talk to you a lot about neuroscience and the brain and trauma, but I don't know. But I love you. And if we can agree to disagree,
Mhm.
then let's continue on developing some symbiosis. Is that symbiotic relationship?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Right?
exactly it. Yeah, a mutually beneficial relationship
Mutually
where both
beneficial.
parties receive something
Yes.
from the other that gives them an
Yes.
advantage in the world. Yeah, it's
Okay, so
beautiful.
I have to ask you, faith and science, you right, run into some of the same issues. This is kind of what we're talking about. Both are conducted by flawed human beings capable of making notoriously
Yeah.
large mistakes, right? So, once again, just I really want to leave with a foundational understanding, an expanded way to come to the table. You know, it like my little 3-year-old the other day, my daughter was reading through a Christmas book about the manger. She just pulled it out, you know, and just the little girl, you know, Elena pulled it out and
Aw.
she was like, she saw Jesus in the manger, right? And she said to her mama, you know, what is this? And this is the manger. Well, why? Like her right now at 3 years old, every other
Why?
word out of her mouth
Why,
is
why,
why.
why?
And she's got this tone, why? And my daughter's like, if she says it one more time. And I'm like, well, yeah, you did too, darling, because you just said yes. And so, you know, when someone says why to me, I want to be able to go, what a great question. You know,
Mhm.
like let's explore, let's talk about it. Is that's just what you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, basically. And
Okay.
also like invite yourself to ask why. You don't
Yes, I
have to have
know.
it all figured
I'm
out.
asking
You don't
you
even
why
have
today.
to be able to arrive at the answer. Yeah, I think
That's why
that's one
you're
of
here.
the ways that we can promote wonder too, like wonder at God, wonder at his
Yes.
creation. Start asking the question why. Why is the
Yes.
sky blue? I mean, I know the
Love
reason because
it.
I did some research and looked it up, but like, why is the sky blue?
I
And
just asked
like,
that today. That's
why
so
do the
funny.
birds sing? And
Same.
why do, oh my goodness, why do manta rays leap out of the water?
I don't know. Will you please
They
tell me?
just
Because
like
that was on the
they jump out
Americas.
of the water.
Tell me why. I want to know why. I was just going to
I
ask you
actually don't
what's.
know.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask
I
you.
don't know. I'll tell you what. That's a very good question, and I will do
Come
some
back to me.
research and get back to you tomorrow.
I'm waiting. I really want to
Yeah.
know. I will
See,
add it into
that's and that
this.
is one of the attributes of science that I love is it's
Ah,
driven by this
wonder.
desire to understand
Yes.
why or how things work the way that they work, like how things are the
Ah,
way they are. And then faith, by extension, helps us answer the why things are the way they are,
yeah.
why things are headed the way that they're heading, why
Mhm.
we're here. All those things faith answers, but
Yeah.
science oftentimes studies the how. but it's still motivated by the question of why. We're curious. We want to know.
I have
And
to
that's,
ask you then.
again, the point where faith and science intersect so beautifully. And it's partly why I love talking about it.
And I love talking to you. How do you imagine this? I am going to close, but I really wanted to know how you would answer. How do you imagine the kingdom of God? Like the activities
Oh,
and the ecology. How do you, like in five
yeah.
sentences or less? No, I'm kidding.
I love
Doesn't
that.
it?
I wrote a whole chapter in the book
Okay.
on how we can potentially try to understand the kingdom of heaven
Okay.
from both an ecological and theological perspective. That chapter is called The Promised Garden City. And when I envision what God's remade kingdom will look like, I think it will be a lot like planet Earth right now,
Mhm.
but without chaos or anxiety,
Yes.
destruction, suffering, despair. None of those things will be present.
Mm.
There will be so much diversity.
Yeah.
So much diversity. Every tribe, tongue, nation, creature,
I
organism,
can't
both
wait.
those around now and those that are long extinct and
Mhm.
those that have perhaps not yet even evolved, all of it.
Right.
I think it'll
All of
all be
it.
there. Everything that was ever a glimmer in God's eye, it'll be
Ah,
there praising him. And that's maybe the part I'm most excited for is to like I would love to go scuba diving in
mm,
the river that
of life.
flows from the throne of God with the trees, the
Trees.
tree of life growing on either side of that river, like getting to, eat
Mm.
that fruit
Oh,
and be with God
succulent.
and then go
Mm.
scuba diving in this river and see the corals and the old
Just
coral friends that I loved and have since
miss.
lost. Like
Yes.
that is what I long for.
Look at your face. It's so full of joy and intimacy. Like you have such an intimate relationship with corals and the marine life because you've lived with them and you've
I
been with them.
do.
And I just that's just so beautiful. Okay,
Oh,
I
thank
don't want
you.
to interrupt this little beautiful moment, but I did want to ask you, there's a chapter in the book. I don't know if I'm gonna get chastised. Chapter 2, I am such a beachcomber.
Oh yeah, you are?
Okay, so,
What's your favorite
oh,
part of beachcombing?
the shells.
Oh yeah.
Just
Any particular like
yes,
favorite, like you
a
find a
moon shell.
particular kind of shell and you're just like a moon shell.
A moon
Ooh.
shell from the Hatteras. They come pretty much from the Outer Banks, is what, 221 miles, I think. Little inlet, little skinny island. And the moon shells are more down, like a Rodanthe, far tip. And
Okay.
they're very rare. And they're in community, though. So if you find one, you're typically going to
Oh,
find
cool.
a bunch of them. And they're the most beautiful one is completely white and like see-through trans. And I
Oh,
have
cool. I had
handfuls.
to look
So
it up, but
I
they look
know,
gorgeous, like
gorgeous.
iridescent, rainbowy,
Just tiny. And you've
beautiful.
got to really like, so when I get one, I'm like, oh, and then the other would be the sand dollar because on the Atlantic coast where I am there, they're not,
Oh
they
yeah.
don't come there very much. So I one time found a whole one, but you say the
Aw.
bothers of beachcombing. So I was a little nervous about the word bothers. I do bless them when I take them away. Like say thank you.
Well,
You're a gift of the
so have
sea.
you been able to read that chapter yet,
Not
or
yet.
not
I
quite
will, I
yet?
promise.
Okay, I think you
Yes.
will approve because when I
Okay.
talk about the bothers of beachcombing, I talk about the difficult things that you have to go through to get to the beach. So, in my experience on
Oh.
the West Coast, which is the coast that I grew up visiting,
I was born
the
there.
waves wash ashore these giant collections of driftwood. And sometimes to get down to the water, you have to clamber over the driftwood, and you can get splinters and
Oh.
scrapes and potentially twist an ankle, and sometimes you find bizarre critters living in there. But it's
Sure.
this idea, the concept for that chapter is sometimes we have to do work to get to the joyous ocean. Sometimes we have to go through the motions of
You do.
doing these hard things, of learning the hard information to get to a point of understanding. So that's the metaphor of the chapter. It's mostly talking about that driftwood barrier.
I'll
But
be
I'm
reading
with
it
you.
tonight.
Beachcombing is delightful. It is
Okay.
so fun to do.
It's
So
my
great.
favorite, and sadly, I've had so much skin cancer, so I'm hoping that the new heaven and the new earth, I won't have any problems with sunburn. So I can just beachcomb and not have to worry that I will get burned. Even though I'm covered from head to toe, the sun's still the sun. And depending on
The
climate
sun.
change, it seems hotter than ever. So, I'll just end on that note.
I mean, the sun is hot. Nobody's gonna
So
argue with that.
hot. So hot. Thank you. Oh, I really sincerely think we have to have another conversation because we have just really just skimmed the surface of your knowledge,
Aw,
wisdom.
Nice pun.
I know, thank you. From writer to
Well,
writer.
Thank you. This has been such a sweet conversation.
So
It's
sweet.
been an honor to chat with you. Thank you for all your thoughtful questions.
Oh my gosh, you are a treasure. You are a little moonshell to me. And so I will be really.
Oh my goodness, that's so sweet.
Oh, it's so true. I've just been anticipating our meeting for so long because when I got your book, and it's just, it's a treasure. So thank you for the work that you're doing in your landlocked phase of life. And I pray that there is so much more to come from you and your wisdom. We need your voice, Rachel. We need your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Thank you. Thank you for lending yours to raise mine up. Means a
Oh,
lot.
oh, stop. This is so good. I love you already. Heartlifters, we have gone long, but what a beautiful, beautiful conversation. It just gave me an exhale. Please join me over at Heartlift Central on Substack, where we will continue this conversation with Rachel G. Jordan and her incredibly beautiful, luscious book, If the Ocean Has a Soul. Until next time.